Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And if I've said it once on this channel, I'll say it again right now. I am a DC fanboy. DC is what I grew up on. It was my first cutting teeth with Batman, the animated series, and of course the movies and everything else, and obviously Justice League and so many wonderful cartoons and animations that we got from back in the day. The comics obviously are wonderful as well. John Constantine's one of my favorite characters inside of DC, if not my absolute favorite. So needless to say, I'm a little bit of a fanboy. I want DC to be good, right? I am like, so I know a lot of people had issues with the Snyder movies and stuff like that, but I enjoyed them. And I love the casting of the new Superman movie. I think David Corn Sweat is absolutely spot on for that one. And of course, our Lois Lane is chef's kiss. Well, one of the first outings of this new DC universe now after the reboot with James Gunn and Peter Safran and everything else going on over there at Warner Brothers was Creature Commandos. Now, we reviewed Creature Commandos, my friend Sunker Maiden and I roped her into watching that with me, and we reviewed every single episode on Thursday nights, which we do our little Is It Good kind of show where we review modern television shows and things that are coming out. We're going to do Daredevil Born Again. We're doing Cyberpunk Edge Runners right now. But Creature Commandos was not one that we particularly cared for. I really wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be one. I thought the trailers looked hilarious. I thought the trailers looked great. But at the end of the day, there was just the pacing was really weird. The editing was really weird. The music was great. The character designs were wonderful, but just the story just kind of fell flat. The Batman episode was really great, but other than that, a lot of it just really fell flat, at least with me and Sunker Maiden. Well, it looks like, boys and girls, even though despite our own criticisms, the majority of the fan base out there did seem to enjoy it. And well, it looks like it is being fast-tracked for season 2, because we heard back in December that season 2 had been officially confirmed that it would be coming out. And now it looks like Warner Brothers was so pleased with the series that it actually is going to end up getting a second one, and it's going to be coming a lot sooner than what a lot of people ended up figuring out. So as you can see from the Fandom Pulse headline over here, Creature Commando season 2 reportedly put on fast track at DC Studios. Now, I'm hoping, boys and girls, that the next person who writes it, because James Gunn literally wrote the first season of Creature Commandos in like 6 weeks is what he told us. And trust me, you could tell by some of the writing that it was very much, it seemed like a rushed job, and there wasn't a lot of depth to some of the stories out there. But I'm hoping, because I did like a lot of the characters inside the story out there. So I really am hoping that maybe the second season will be an improvement over the first one, and we will continue to review it when it comes out. But needless to say, it obviously made Warner Brothers happy enough to fast track a second season. So whether or not you like it or not, we are getting one either way, boys and girls. So we're going to check out this article from fandompulse.substack, getting all of the juicy details, and see exactly what's going on and when we could possibly expect and what we might expect from season 2 as well, because there is an interview in here with the creator. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 1,600. We're on our way to 1,700, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Did you enjoy Creature Commandos season 1? I have a guy that I really respect his opinion on things, Matt McGloin over there at Cosmic Book News. He really enjoyed the first season of the show. I just wasn't a fan for us out there. Or did you even bother watching it? Or is this your first time even hearing about this series? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. And if you do enjoy our content, if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from John F. Trent over at fandompulse.substack. Creature Commandos showrunner Dean Lorey shared that DC Studios and Warner Brothers has put the second season of the animated show on the fast track. Speaking with the Direct while promoting the upcoming 5th season of Harley, which he is an executive producer for, which, no, not a show that I'm interested in any way, shape, or form. And I've heard from a lot of people that actually love the DC characters that Harley is an absolute abysmal abomination, but people that don't literally like superheroes seem to love the show. So, it's kind of a mixed bag when it comes to this guy. I mean, it's still early days, but we are actively working on breaking the season and starting to figure that out. So it's definitely moving forward. I mean, it's like they put it on a fast track and they seem to mean it. So yeah, we're in it. So obviously, like I said, Warner Brothers must have been happy enough with the numbers behind the scenes, which just shows you probably exactly how abysmally bad the Velma series was and all of its stuff behind the scenes, because literally if that abomination, ended up completely and totally ending it, Creature Commandos must obviously be doing much better than that, or any of the rest of the animated stuff over there. So hey, you know what? There you go. Obviously enough people are watching to keep the Warner Brothers happy out there. As for what viewers might expect in the second season, Lorey indicated that it could feature a new roster, albeit G.I. Robot would remain. The very end of the season shows that this could be a new roster. I mean, yeah, we had a couple of fan favorite characters, actually, literally, what they did to the little fish girl out there was just an absolute abomination, and I could not stand it in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, needless to say, there's going to be a new roster with at least a few new faces, which is what was shown at the very end of the last episode, where they were all back inside their little prison or whatever, and they were all in the little lunchroom area where they're all getting it. And then, of course, there's another fight, and then look, now there's 2 new young people that might be coming in and get put out. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of season 1. The very end of the season shows that it could be a new roster. Can fans hope that maybe that's going to be a pretty accurate as to some new team members that might play in the big role in the season? I don't know. I guess we're fine. I guess we'll find out. And Lorey's response, I think it'll be at least somewhat accurate. I mean, it's like those are all the characters that we think would be really fun in the season. And James Gunn wrote, all the episodes last season. Yeah, trust me, we could tell. So those were his instincts, which are pretty good. So yeah, I would say there's that. And I mean, there's no world where I would want to do a season without a beefed up GI Robot. And GI Robot was a lot of fun. He was pretty basic. He was pretty simple. And this right here is from the only episode that was really good out there. And this dance number, honestly, wasn't bad, but it definitely went on for a little too long. Like right as it's getting ready to end, you start asking yourself, is this dance number going on a little bit too long? And then they finally end it. So they probably should have ended it a little bit before that. But needless to say, this episode was one of the ones that was actually fun. His character's not actually Blight, but that's what he always reminds us of. So that's what we always referred to him when we were reviewing the show. But I actually really did like his backstory and his storyline. But that was the biggest problem with the show, right? It was literally nothing but backstory after backstory after backstory. And it was like you never got to see the team actually come together and like work as like a united force properly. It just wasn't a great team up show. Wasn't a great team up show. And like I said, I loved the trailer. I was really excited about the show. I wanted it to be good. I just didn't enjoy it. The show was renewed for a second season back at the end of December, with DC Studios co-chair James Gunn and Peter Safran stating, "We're thrilled to team up with Max for another season of Creature Commandos mayhem. From our spectacular first season of Peacemaker to the astonishing run of the Penguin, which the Penguin has been really good, to the record-breaking launch of Creature Commandos. Really, it broke records. I didn't see any reports about that kind of stuff. But hey, you know what? Glad to hear it broke records for them. Max has consistently delivered above industry expectations and beyond our wildest imaginings. Thank you, Casey, Sarah, Pi, Sonoy, and the entire team for your tremendous support of DC Studios. We're proud to call Max home." Well, at least seems like everybody involved in it is having at least a very good time out there. The series has a 7.8 out of 10 rating on IMDb, which I think is probably pretty much lines up pretty accurately, I think, with most of the series. Like, it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever seen. It's just, like I said, the pacing was really weird. The writing wasn't all that great. Yeah, like I said, it felt like something that James Gunn could obviously whip up in like 6 weeks. So it's one of those situations where a 7.8 out of 10 isn't bad, right? But it's not exactly great either out there. And then, of course, the Rotten Tomatoes score is pretty good. Similarly, it's got an 80% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes popcorn meter. And, of course, the critics loved it because there was a whole like little woke scene in the beginning of it where you're making out essentially, it's supposed to be like an allegory essentially for MAGA supporters and stuff like that is what it's essentially supposed to be. Honestly, it's not as overbearing. There are way more things wrong with this show than just like the little woke nonsense that they kind of interject in there in a few different parts. But honestly, you can pretty much ignore it for the most part because everybody that they portray as MAGA people literally come off as beta soy bitches. So it's one of those situations where, yeah, but like I said, for the people that did actually watch it, it's got a pretty good score. So it makes sense that they wanted to continue on. As far as viewership, Eliminate reported that the show was the third most watched show on Max for the first full week following its release. So those are pretty good numbers right there. Those are pretty good numbers. Variety detailed that they brought in $22.4 million for a week of December 6th through the 12th. It placed behind The Penguin, 71 million minutes, and The Sex Lives of College Girls, 27.6 million minutes, which honestly not that far behind that show out there. So yeah. And of course, The Penguin's been like the #1 series. Everybody's loved it. Everybody's had a grand time with it. So yeah, that makes sense. The outlet's Robert Steiner noted at this time, the show's performance thus far isn't breaking any records, but it does show that a fresh take on a DC property that isn't focused on setting up future installments is intriguing enough for viewers. it didn't win any awards, didn't set any kind of crazy breaking records out there for numbers, but it was satisfactory. It was satisfactory. Would I go back and watch season 1 of Creature Commandos again? Probably not. I think once was more than enough for me, and that's normally how I gauge something as to whether or not I want to go back and keep watching it. You know, I kept wanting it to get better. I kept hoping it was going to get better. There were some fun scenes. There was some fun dialogue. The music was great. I loved the music for the show. The animation was wonderful, but the story just really fell flat for me on a lot of different parts. But you know what? Second chances are always a good thing. Maybe the second season will have some better writers than just James Gunn whipping something out in like 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Maybe actually put a little more thought into some of these storylines, give us a little bit more depth to the characters, actually show us a little bit more bonds. I mean, the best relationship we had was between like the bride and the fish girl, and then honestly the best backstory we had up and outside of Blight's was literally Weasel's. Weasel's backstory was actually really good. That was, for the most part, the Weasel aspects of that episode were actually really good, but for the most part, overall, I just found the show really lacking quite a lot of things. But you know what? Like I said, maybe the second season will do better. It wouldn't be the first time a show had a rough first season, and in the opinion of people out there, and ended up really nailing it the second season and kind of moving forward. I mean, we saw that happen with series like Star Trek, The Next Generation. We've seen that happen with other series out there as well. So who knows? Maybe second season will be better. But obviously, it was a success enough inside of the eyes of the viewership of, or the leadership of Warner Brothers Discovery out there to go ahead and greenlight and apparently fast track a second season. So I don't know how long this is going to take, boys and girls, but we could potentially see a second season of Creature Commandos next year in 2026 if the fast tracking is really going as fast as it will. But at the end of the day, we will see what happens. Let's just say from a fan's perspective, a DC fanboy's perspective out there, I really hope season 2 is a whole hell of a lot better than a little bit of the abomination that was season 1.